Welcome back this week, everyone, as we are diving into our video game book club, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty Part 3. And I'm not going to spend too much time here because it's not my pick. It is Christian's pick. So let's just pass it right on over.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get right into this. This playthrough is so funny, or this section of the playthrough was shorter as far as gameplay elements are concerned, but longer in terms of cutscenes and lore dumps. So I'm going to I'm basically gonna go for a little while here, just about the lore recap and everything that happens, and then there will be a boss fight that we get to. After that boss fight, I'll pause. We'll do a check-in. We'll finish it out there, and then we'll go from there. Yes, we ended last time off after our battle with Fat Man and all the conversations that happened with that. And so we are basically, we leave the landing and we're heading straight down until we are interrupted by our favorite innuendo cyborg ninja, who says that he is a messenger of the Lolly Low, and that is a thing. That's going to come up a lot in this part.
Together for sounds.
Yep. And he's here to offer us some guidance on how we get to the president, to try and stop the disaster that from happening, or all this stuff that's about to happen. But he lets us know that nothing so far, nothing about this whole thing is actually what it seems. And the reason that he believes is because he says the terrorists actually already have everything that they need to accomplish this goal, or their actual goal. And one of the reasons he believes that is because the Big Shell is not even actually a cleanup facility, and that it's a cover-up for a Metal Gear that is housed here. And Raiden at this point sort of has a flash, like a thought of the footage that he's seen from Metal Gear Ray, the incident back 2 years ago on the tanker. And so he lets us know about the location of the handler for the president, Ames, and that we should that Ames should have the location for the president, because the president is being kept separate from all the rest of the hostages. So if anybody knows where he's at, it would be Ames who knows where he's at. And he says that we have to find, the only way that we're gonna be able to find this guy is that he's housed with the rest of the hostages down in the core, and we are going to need to find a directional microphone to listen to all of the heartbeats of the hostages to figure out which one has a pacemaker, because Ames has a pacemaker. And Raiden protests immediately after hearing all of this and is like, there's no reason for me to actually trust you. You could just be saying gibberish, and you have to understand that there's no reason for me to trust you. And the ninja, and then subsequently Campbell almost immediately after, both point out to him that that's true, you could believe that, but you also have no other leads to go off of right now, so there's kind of no reason for you to not believe me. And so Raiden sort of begrudgingly agrees, and on his way out, Mr. X gives us the Russian military outfit as well as a level 2 key card. And he basically says that if we want to blend in with the guards of the core, we need to wear this outfit, but we need to go and find an AK-47 for ourselves, because if we come in with any other weapon but an AK-47, all those guards will know that we are a imposter, and they will shoot us on sight. And so immediately after that, we call our good friend Pliskin, and he lets us know that he is almost positive that he has seen an AK-47 in the Strut F storage facility, and now that we have a new fancy level 2 key card, some extra doors will be open to us when we head over there. So I'll skip the gameplay parts here because it's not much. We're just running through the areas that we've already been, right? So we make our way to Strut, get the AK, and now that we've secured our disguise, we make our way to the core facility. And we head to the basement, so basement level, I think it's basement level 2 in this one, where we go and try to find our directional microphone, and it's just in the middle of this office area here with a parrot who just keeps yelling at us. Different phrases and different things For what reason? No one's to know, but that's what it is. There's also a little secret here for some of the distraction items in the game. The nudie magazines that you can pick up in this game to distract guards. Um, on the left side of the room, there is, if you see on top of the lockers, there was a book that's floating up top there,
Saw that.
and you may be wondering yourself that whole time, what the hell? How am I supposed to get up there? And players who might get frustrated trying to find a way to get up there might just inadvertently decide to punch that locker out of frustration. And when they do, it knocks all of those books off of the top of the locker. They scatter on the ground, and you can pick them all up.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't punch anything, so.
Yep,
I didn't punch anything either.
that's okay.
I got the one where you can drop down on it
That's
at one
what I got,
point.
yeah.
But that's the only one I've gotten.
Yeah, up top on the in
I
Strut F.
couldn't
Yeah,
find it in my inventory, though.
it's on the left inventory.
Yeah, couldn't find it.
I haven't
Oh.
even looked.
Yeah,
Well,
it should be in there.
you know the other thing that's crazy too about that one, at least the one that I noticed.
It might be
that I
in the right
picked
one.
up.
That you can just check both, but you definitely have it. You might have to do the side scroll though, like once you get up and then scroll through
So-
a bunch of items. But
How many can you hold? Because I figured that'd be one of those things where you could have like a magazine.
you can
but
hold
it'll-
5.
I was gonna say, it respawns, so that when you fall on, like if you leave and come back, it's
Yeah.
back floating there again.
I'm like, I
Yeah,
thought,
you
I thought
can-
to myself, like, didn't I pick this one up? Like, okay, well, it's a game,
Yeah.
so I guess, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can hold 5. But so we leave that area, we head right back up to where the hostages are being held, and to do that, when we go into that first area that we walked into to get to the elevator, we go up to the retinal scan door. We wait for a guard to walk by and choke him or grab him right in front of that, and then Raiden slams his face into the retinal scanner, knocking him out, and then we get on the elevator. There is other options here, or not other options, but other ways in which Campbell will scold you for doing this the wrong way. So you have a couple different things. There are people who have tried to kill all of the guards on that floor and then drag dead bodies in front of there. Campbell lets you know that the retinal scanner can detect whether or not somebody's alive or not, and that it will not work if the person's dead. Also, if the person's asleep, it also will not work because their eyes are closed, and so it won't work. So your only option is to slam the head of a awake person into that retinal scanner. But we go down, go into the core while the hostages are being held, and we begin our mini game here of pulling out a directional microphone and listening to people's heartbeats, listening for a beep. I should mention one other thing is that on his way out from talking to us on the helipad, Mr. X gives us a cell phone, and when Raiden goes, "What the hell am I supposed to do with this?" Mr. X is gone. He has disappeared. He just poof right out of the air. So, getting to this point, so we're listening for all the heartbeats. In the back corner left of the room, tied up to one of the tables, is where you find Mr. Ames, and you start immediately talking to him, and get there really quick on these notes. There we go. Ames lets us know immediately, because he is under the assumption that Raiden is also here under orders of the Lolly Lule Lo, but then we also get the new name of this, which is the Patriots, is the code name of this organization. So going forward from this moment on, people will either use that or the Patriots basically interchangeably. I do not know. I don't know, but they use them interchangeably.
Who knows?
I think the Patriots sounds way cooler, but
I agree. And Lolly Lule Lo sounds like some random Yakuza gang, like from Like a Dragon.
It
like
does.
what you would
It
see
very
in
much
Lolly
does.
Lule
I
fan?
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
for
does,
sure.
yeah. But so Ames in letting us know that, and so Raiden asks him, "Hey, where's the hostage that was killed? Like, what are they doing?" And Ames is like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, whatever." And he like moves on immediately. He doesn't understand that, because he's asking where the president. He goes, "I'm here to try to find the president." And he's like, and I'm trying to find them before they kill them, because I'm worried about the hostages that can be killed, or the hostage that was killed. And Ames is like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, okay, whatever. I don't know what that is, but also they're not going to kill the president because he is needed for this whole thing to go off. And so he then explains that basically everything about the football is tied to the biometrics of the president, to the point where the biometrics are actually tied to the nanomachines inside the president's body as well. So the only way that this works is the president actually has to be a willing participant to be able to sign in his passcode and for it to work. If he is stressed or doesn't feel like, like if anything in the body is amiss that's not his base level normal self, it will not unlock. And then even after that, once it's unlocked the first time, changes can be made, but then when those changes need to be confirmed, every hour after that, it has to be confirmed with his biometrics through like the nanomachine connection. And if it's not, then it locks down completely and does not work. And so Raiden then understanding that, Raiden then questions Ames immediately about the Metal Gear that's being stored here, and Ames is sort of like taken aback and is like, did you not get briefed at all on what is happening here? And it's pretty clear that Ames does not know that we are not on the same team as he is, and that we are completely different. But he and so right when he goes to start finishing whatever that sentence is, he is interrupted by a meeting that's happening in the hallway across from us. And he tells us he goes, look, oh my, it's there. That's Solid Snake. And he goes, use the directional microphone. Now, before I move on to this conversation really quick, there is an Easter egg here. I don't know if either of you found it. You obviously point the directional microphone at the window so that you can hear this conversation. However, if you go all the way to the left, it points it at the bathroom, and there is a soldier that is stuck in a stall, and he's having a bad day. And he's got an upset tummy, and he is talking about all the reasons that he might have an upset tummy and just how bad it is. So you can listen to that and then go back to the conversation. But most people don't do that. They listen to the meeting that's happening here. And so the meeting that happens here is between Ocelot and somebody who he calls King at first. And he says that they're discussing Fat Man's betrayal here in the beginning and why it happened in the first place. And Ocelot says that he's going to look into it because he believes that it may have been the Patriots. He believes that Fat Man may actually have been working for them. And so King tells him to let him know what he finds, but then he also goes on to talk about the fact that the president has already logged into the device and that all they need is the confirmation in 1 hour to launch the nuke, and then they'll be able to be done with him. And then King goes on to say that he's like, we're so close to Outer Haven, we just need to lock in, basically. Olga shows up right in the middle of this, and she goes back and forth with Ocelot for a little bit about not only the cyborg ninja that's running around, but also they keep saying that man, and it's pretty clear here based on what we know at this point that she is talking about Pliskin, and that they believe that because obviously the player knows this at this point, that during the tank, we were actually the ones that killed her dad back in the tanker mission, and not Ocelot. Even though we were there, we know Ocelot shot him in the head, but it seems like Ocelot told her that it was Solid Snake that did that, and that Ocelot was, only able to just barely escape from that incident. And so they go back and forth about this, and she basically says, hey, if I find out that I'm being betrayed by you, Ocelot, I will kill you. And King interrupts them both and basically just says that if they don't focus on this mission and get it done, neither of them will ever be hired by any sort of special operations thing ever again anywhere, because this will be the multiple of time that they have failed in trying to do something. Obviously, with the tanker incident being the first, and then Ocelot has failed allegedly 3 times because of the stuff with Liquid, this, and then so.
That's true. Ocelot, in hindsight, is not a great. It's not a great.
I think
hit
that
person.
based on what we know about Ocelot after this playthrough, I don't think we actually know whether or not Ocelot is failing on purpose or if he is actually, you know what I mean, or like
Yeah.
who knows. But we'll get there. But yeah, so as soon as in the middle of that or as soon as they get done arguing, they leave, and the conversation turns back to Raiden and Ames, where we update Ames on everything we heard, and Raiden is immediately taken aback because he goes, well, based on what you just told me, this must mean the president betrayed the U.S. by working with these terrorists, because if he put the code in, it means that he had to have wanted to do that the first time. And he goes, but that doesn't make any sense because of the ransom and everything else. And Ames asks us, what the hell are we even talking about? And asks us if we know anything about what's going on here. And he goes, the plan the entire time has been to launch a nuke above Manhattan, but in the upper atmosphere, so that the EMP takes the whole city off of the grid and like blows out every sort of electronic device anywhere around there. And he goes, and this is why I think that their name is Sons of Liberty, is to, liberate the, Manhattan Statue of Liberty, that whole thing, right? And Raiden immediately wants to go ask some questions about this, but Ocelot enters the room and interrupts this whole conversation. So Ames tells us to hurry up and go find the president and gives us the level 3 card. And as soon as we get the card from him, Ocelot rolls up on us and basically tells Ames that the jig is up. He knows everything about this, or everything about what's going on, but he goes, I'm pretty sure that's why they sent you in here to monitor the president, isn't that right? And Ames tells him that you'll never escape the Lolly Lule Low. And he gets on his he goes to like jump at Ocelot more or less. And we get a little familiar sight here where before Ocelot even has a chance to shoot him, he has a heart attack, just like we saw in the last game with the Fox Die virus. And while he's in the middle of it, Ames goes, I see what you've done. Like, this whole thing was your whole set. Like, it seems like he had figured something out. But he dies from the heart attack. And he immediately, Ocelot turns and gets our mask ripped off, and we are found out. And right as it looks like Ocelot is about to shoot us, Mr. X comes down and goes to, once again, it seems, take Ocelot's arm from him. But Ocelot learned from the last time and got his arm out of the way very quickly. And Mr. X helps us and tells us to make our escape very quickly and that he will handle everything there. Of all the things that happen in this seems like, and this is just, obviously I know, so I'm saying this in a way that how I felt back when I first played this. Out of these two games, this seems like the only time that Ocelot was genuinely frustrated when he sees that this ninja is back. Like, he seems like he is like, this is the first time that he's actually surprised about something.
Maybe because also the first time the ninja showed up, he probably was still a little frustrated too.
Well,
Probably
he saw, like, he was in the room watching the whole Liquid and Solid Snake fight, so he knows that Gray Fox was crushed by Metal Gear Rex. Like, he watched it happen. So seeing somebody who looks just like him but even more souped up, he probably is. It seemed to me when I was playing this, I thought this seems like the one time that Ocelot actually is like genuinely surprised about something versus like playing it up for whatever audience he's got going on. But as we make it out, we call Campbell and we basically start roasting him immediately. And we're just like, hey man, how much of this did you fucking know? And like, how much of this have you not been honest with us about? And Campbell's like, look, I've been honest with you this whole time. This must have been the cover up from the start. I actually have no fucking idea. But you need to go, like, ignore all that. You need to go to the president immediately to figure out what's really going on here. And so we make our way to the connecting bridge where we find the whole thing is wired with Semtex and ready to explode. And so we get a call from Pliskin, who lets us know that we need to go find a sniper rifle to be able to deal with all of the different sensors that are here, and he lets us know exactly where we can find one and who could have seen this coming. But once again, it is Strut F, our favorite warehouse storage place with many doors that have different level securities, and we go in there with the level 3 key, go get the sniper rifle. And we come back, take care of all of the Semtex detonators, where we are immediately met with a scene, or a call from Pliskin, who lets us know that he has secured a ride out of here, and he's got one of the helicopters. He sabotaged the other one, so that they can't follow him, or they can't follow us, I should say, when we leave. And he says that based on, he asked Raiden how many hostages there are, and he says 30, and Snake, or not Snake, says that there's only room for 13 inside the cargo hold of this helicopter, so there'll have to be multiple trips that get made to be.
I love that, because like they're literally like, oh yeah, what about the other helicopter? And he's like, oh, I disabled it so they can't follow us. Like, we'll just have to make 2 trips. I'm just like,
you can see in his face too. He's like, shit. Like, yeah, we'll do 2 trips.
yeah,
Yeah, he kind of like it is too. There's like this thing where he's like, yeah, I fucked that up. Well, hey, we'll make 2 trips. Like, it is funny. But yeah, so in the middle of this conversation, while they're planning to figure out what they're going to do about the hostages, Pliskin introduces his friend Otacon.
Yeah, he does.
As soon as he says this name, Raiden cuts over their conversation and goes to Campbell immediately and is like, yo, fuck you. You had to have known that this was them this whole time. You had to have known. And he's like, also, you had to have been lying about the things that happened before, because there's no way, like, based on what I've known so far during this operation, there's no way that these are, like, him and Otacon are actually terrorists. There's just no shot. Like, it's not real. And Campbell is basically like, he goes to argue and basically says, like, someone has to be lying. There's no way that it can be right. And that he needs to just go back to focusing on the mission. And so Raiden goes to cut over back to not Snake to continue the conversation, but he's cut short by the introduction of King. So King is standing on the other side of that bridge, and he goes, I finally found you, and then calls us a messenger of the Patriots. And he goes, and he calls himself Solid Snake after calling us out. And Pliskin, the helicopter rolls around and he screams, that's not Solid Snake, and then immediately shoots the bomb he's standing behind. And King sort of jumps forward, just barely getting out of there, but it burns his the cape, like the giant cape that he's wearing. And it exposes a suit that's not unlike Raiden's. It's very clearly like a muscle, like sort of like a suit thing, right? Like the same like sort of sneaking suit. Except his can buff out to make him be like super strong, and it like makes him like double his size instantly.
I also love that because it doesn't lean too much into it throughout the whole fight. There's a cutscene where he just sticks out his arm and he kind of flexes, and you see it like do an audible and visual like pop. And but also not like so big as like Bane big, where you're like, oh, it's over the top. It's just a little, just a little,
just a little boost, just a little boost. And so Snake, when he goes to get ready to shoot, they come in, like they bring the chopper in a little bit closer, and he says, stop impersonating him. And King says that he is much more than Liquid, and Snake goes to shoot him again, but this is where we get his title card, and we find out that his name is not actually King, it is Solidus Snake. And so clearly he has a relation to Solid Snake and Liquid Snake. We don't obviously know what that is just yet. And he goes, I'm much more than Liquid, brother. And then that's when Snake says, you're no brother of mine. And he goes to start shooting at him again, except now the super muscle suit is blocking all of these bullets. And so Snake goes, fine, take a grenade then. And he shoots a grenade at him, and Solidus jumps out of the way and lands on sort of like the piping that's on the side of this bridge here. And Snake goes, all right, fuck you then, I'll do a second one. So he shoots a second grenade at him, and that sends sort of Solidus off the side, except he lands right on top of the Harrier jet that people were looking for, and it has been flown by the other crony that's been floating around, Vamp. And this is where Not Snake then throws us a rocket launcher, and he says that he needs our help to be able to take out this Harrier jet because this helicopter does not stand a chance against a fighter jet, which is a fact. And so we have this fight here. So this fight is, I think, this is just my, like, it definitely is meant to drum up feelings of the helicopter fight from Metal Gear Solid 1, except I think that is much better in almost every single way.
Well,
Mostly because I think that the controls in this are obviously better than a PS1 game. And so it becomes a lot easier. Preston has a funny story about his based on the difficulty he was playing on, where he just sort of face rolled this fight regardless of whatever was going on.
it wasn't hit me too
So
hard.
it was going to be easier no matter what for him. But it is, I think, is genuinely a better fight. And you have different options to sort of deal with dodging and getting out of the way of dirt and certain things that make the fight a little bit easier to deal with. So we'll get through that. We get through that fight, and as soon as we get the last shot off, and it sort of breaks part of the plane, it starts to fall down and go to sort of crash into the ocean. But Snake says, or not Snake says, oh shit, something's coming up. And what is it? But Metal Gear Ray comes in and secures the plane and stops it from crashing into the ocean. And when Solidus basically tells Vamp to hurry up and get out, and this is, I promise this is just my opinion though, I should say, but out of the next 3 games that we're going to play eventually throughout this book club thing, this scene that happens here is still, in my opinion, the dumbest scene that is in all of Metal Gear.
Very stupid.
At all. Like, at all.
Are you talking about where it's caught, where the plane is caught?
No. Where
Oh,
Vamp
okay.
gets out of the cockpit and runs across the water and then runs up one of the struts of Shell 2. And
I literally had the thought, I go, oh, he pulled a Jesus. Like, that's,
Yeah.
he's just
you just go, okay, I guess Vamp can do that too. That's
But also, like, he's not that, like, nothing you've shown is like that fast. Like, he is fast, but you know how fast you have to be to not break water
later,
surface tension.
Once we get more info about what Vamp is, I can explain why this happened. But it is also here's like I'm not gonna spoil, but just to give you an idea of where this is going. Alex, do you remember and Preston, you played the first Mass Effect, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We all remember the final boss, Saren, and how by the end of that game he basically was like everything about him had been changed into a robot by the slow sort of. It's along that lines of like a slow change into something that is barely human or barely organic, I should say, by the end of everything, right? So we'll leave it at that. But
that was I liked that little scene where the Metal Gear comes out because I thought it was genuinely surprising. Mm-hmm. It did remind me of a Jurassic Park scene and just the way Ray catches it and walks with the plane.
Oh, sure.
Looked like a dinosaur.
Fair.
But you're right. Like, that part with Vamp was real stupid.
Yeah, so he leaves to go do whatever. We'll find out, obviously, in this next part. But he leaves, and Metal Gear Ray retreats with Solidus. And that's when we get a call from Not Snake. And he says that he and Otacon need to land and repair the chopper. And so he relies on Raiden to get the rest of this stuff done.
Imagine if you had a second chopper.
Yeah. Well, they'd still have to fly that first chopper to get, so they have to do those repairs anyway. When he gets that call, or Raiden just immediately goes in and goes, you know what? I'm just gonna ask you, are you Snake? Like, Just tell me. I'm almost positive at this point, but just tell me. And Snake just finally confirms it and is like, yeah, that's me. And Raiden goes on to be like, man, what the fuck are you doing here then? Like, if this is like, if you did all that stuff in Shadow Moses and all of this stuff, why are you here still dealing with this stuff? And he basically is like, you're a legend, man. Like, why are you tied up in all of this garbage ass activity? Like, and Raiden goes to say like, if I wasn't assigned this mission, I would not be here. Like this, I would not be choosing this. Like, just to be dealing with all this stuff. And Snake goes on to say basically that a legend is nothing but fiction, and that he's like my best friend told me something once where he goes, we're not tools of the government anymore, and that we can fight for something that we believe in. And Snake goes, the only thing I was ever good at was fighting, but now that I finally have a cause that I can put behind, then it is fine with me. Like, I don't mind. And Raiden goes, okay, well, if it's actually you, then how are you guys able to fake the DNA evidence 2 years ago when they pulled your body out of the tanker thing? And Otacon goes, actually, I can answer that. When we started this whole nonprofit thing, we went and dug up Liquid's body and kept it frozen for just this kind of failsafe if Snake ever needed to fake his death, because him and Liquid are genetic twins by all accounts, right? So it would be the same no matter what. And so Raiden, again, in this point, it's funny because Raiden has no idea who Liquid is. Like, he only knows the story that got put out originally about Shadow Moses. So, like, Solid Snake is the big war hero and Otacon and all this other stuff, but Liquid is not mentioned in that story officially. Like, no one outside of people who are in the know who Liquid is. So he's just like, oh, okay, I guess you have a brother, and it sounds like you have a third one. So I guess sounds good. I believe that.
I also like the fact that you dug up this body, and then when everything happened with Shadow Moses, somebody had to fly said body to your location and then drop it in the ocean and be like, look, it's Snake's dead body. Because he didn't carry it with him. So, like,
my assumption is that Otacon, obviously, since he was just offshore, he probably was coordinating that whole thing anyway when they needed to go in and rescue Snake in the first place.
Otacon just drives around with a frozen
probably.
body.
You know what? Otacon's freak ass. I would not. I'm sure. And so Raiden then sort of criticizes them and is like, okay, well, if that's you guys, like, you guys are not really like grassroots activists. Like, you guys are borderline terrorists in your own right. Like, you go to different places and blow all this shit up and do all this stuff and destabilize areas. Like, sure, you're getting rid of Metal Gears, but like, you also are causing a bunch of chaos like everywhere you go. And Snake's like, that's fair. Like, we think that this is a more important one and it's our duty to the future generations of the world. He's like, but I'm not going to argue basically our methods with you, more or less. And they also go, but the other reason that we're here is not only to stop this Metal Gear, but also because Otacon says that they have my sister. So his sister Emma is being held by the terrorists here, and they don't know why, but they know that she's here and he's here to rescue her. And so right then, Rose calls to basically check in on Raiden and save the game here. And right after that, Raiden calls Campbell to let him know that the Metal Gear is already active. And Campbell goes, look, it doesn't matter because there might be a different weapon at play, or maybe there's a different thing here, but you still have time to prevent the launch as long as you hurry up to get to the president. He then confronts him and goes like, look, man, I know you were listening to all these conversations, so you know that that's Snake, and that's like, so what the fuck? Like, you probably, like, you had to have known this whole time. And Campbell just is like, look, I still don't think it might not be him. But even if it is him, it doesn't matter because he wasn't a part of this simulation, and he's not a part of this like mission in general. Like, this is irrelevant. Like, you need to go find the president. And Rose agrees, and then that is where we are on our way to the building. So I'm going to pause here because that, I would say, is like a nice little sort of halfway point into everything else that happens here. And so after the Harrier fight, how is everybody feeling?
Yeah, so I liked the Harrier fight. it's, again, like you said, it's much better controls than the last time around. So even using the Nikita or whatever was much better than Metal Gear Solid 1.
This is the Stinger. The Nikita comes later, but yes, I know.
Oh
what you
yeah,
mean,
the Stinger. I actually liked the little bit of mechanics of like, if they're carpet bombing, you can essentially like run downstairs and avoid them, or you can use the hang feature and avoid it. So I liked some of that. Overall, the gameplay to this point so far, I like the story dumps that we've done. It did seem to be a bit repetitive of like, go to warehouse F, go to base B2, back to warehouse F, because like, but doing the bombs, right? Like, I just feel like we've been around this first ring so much. So I'm ready to move out of this first ring. So like when we destroy this and move on, like I was kind of happy about that. But I like the fight. I like some of the twists and turns we got going on. I think some of this stuff with, like, I call them Solidists and everything else is even more interesting as we get to the end of this playthrough with like the stuff that comes there. I really was genuinely shocked by the Metal Gear Ray coming up out of the water, and I thought that was like an interesting turn too. So far, the game to me actually feels like it's picking up steam a little bit and going somewhere. I am genuinely confused though about one part, which is why, like, what was going through Kojima's head when they did the Pliskin thing versus just saying who he was. Like, he looks like Snake. He's acting like Snake. We all know he's Snake. So what's this part? What's
we
weird
know
thing?
he's Snake because we know what Snake looks like, but there is like back with the years past, and then especially with some genetic sort of information that we get later as far as like the about the Snake brothers, let's say. Raiden has no idea what he looks like.
No, that I think that's fair, but I mean, like, as a player, calling him Iroquois Pliskin or not, whatever.
I'm sure
like,
it's just. I mean, it's just a code name that Snake comes up with in the moment. But he's just hiding his identity because this whole incident, everybody believes over the last 2 years that Snake has been dead and that he was the one who did this bombing and all this other stuff, or blew up the tanker and did that whole thing, right? So it's like there's no reason for him to out himself as like, oh, I'm the real Solid Snake, and then let all of a sudden now potentially somebody, leaks that information or anything along those lines.
That's the only part about this has bugged me the whole time, and like I said, genuinely confused me, because like it would have actually been a more impressive reveal if he had broken in, gotten shot, left a mask on, talked to Raiden, did a thing. Like, if you truly hid Snake's identity from us, it gave us a code name and did all that, then we're thinking like, oh, who is this guy?
I don't think it would have mattered, because if he had a mask on, he still would have been voiced by David Hayter, and you would have been able, like, the way that they introduced character title cards and said David Hayter voices this character, everybody would have known immediately.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think you could have like put a question mark on it just to be fun, just to have fun at first, and then like wait till he said Otakon or owned up to it, and then gave him a title card.
Can I tell you what I wish they? I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that in like Metal Gear Solid 5 too, we're not playing this one, so I'll bring it up. And also, it's a super prequel, so it doesn't matter. But like David Hayter has always voiced all of the either Snake or Big Boss characters or anything like that, right? And in that game, they do Kiefer Sutherland for and at first it makes sense because you're like, oh shit, this actually isn't. Like, you find out at the end of that game, oh, this isn't actually Big Boss. It's somebody who they threw a random soldier under a bunch of plastic surgery and then memory stuff to convince him that was Big Boss, to be able to sort of work as an agent of the overall, like, the people that were doing it, right, to sort of convince different things about happening. But then the problem is that so there was that huge controversy about David Hayter being like, yeah, I'm not the voice anymore, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And then, obviously, at the end of 5, the real Big Boss comes back, but he's still voiced by Kiefer Sutherland. I would have rather seen where that version was voiced by David Hayter, and then everyone goes, sure, oh, fuck, they pulled one over on us. And to what you're saying is, I think that would have been a way that you could have done it here, right? Is have a different voice actor for Pliskin, and then as soon as the reveal happens, you sort of like a new title card comes up.
Yeah.
And then that is voiced by David Hayter going forward for the rest of the game.
You have all this technology in this world you've introduced. Like, there has to be a voice modulator, almost like Mission Impossible style, that you could wear, right? Like, you could have done plenty of stuff like that.
The voice thing, actually, that tech does not actually exist right now, and I say that because it gets created in 4.
Weird. Okay, so interesting. But I'm just saying, in my opinion, it's bugged me the whole time. Like, it would have been fun to truly keep it secret, even if you did a voice actor, like, just put a mask, like, don't show him and do something. And it's not till he's like my partner Otakon that you go, wait a minute, no. And then, like, a little bit later he introduced himself. That's the only thing about this that's bugged me so far.
Sure.
We as an omnipotent audience, we know
Sure.
the whole time. So anyway, it's good other than that so far.
No, I had a good time with it. I was surprised to see that I got the sniper rifle before. Did they tell you to go get the sniper rifle? The sniper and the trank sniper in the same spot in there.
Oh, sure.
So that was nice. I get there and it's like I didn't know that they were going to tell you to go all the way back. So that was nice that I already had that. Saved myself a little bit of travel. But yeah, doing the Harrier fight, I feel that unless you really don't want to play the game, very easy would be the kind of way to do it. But like with me, I kind of want to play the little game a little bit more, and I feel like I've kind of chosen something that's too easy for like the first time ever. So like I'm fighting the Harrier. I'm not really worried about my health too much. In fact, at one point, like the Harrier, like I'm standing next to one of the doors, and the Harrier just like comes on top of me, just stays there. So I just rocket up, just launch all the rockets as much as I can, and I'm just going at it. And there's some parts that just seem like super cheese to where it's like, okay, I don't think this fight is supposed to go this way, and I have a feeling I'm missing some.
No, you're supposed to take damage when he's over you. Yeah.
So I mean, I may have taken a little bit of damage, but I didn't take that much damage. So
yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. I mean, I didn't really notice too much of a difference as far as moving around and stuff like that. For that one, it kind of felt like the same thing for me with the helicopter in the last one. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. Everything so far. A lot of big lore dumps. And I can't stop fucking chuckling every time they say that Lilo Llama shit fucking clan name. It's so fucking funny.
Lolly Lulelo.
So fucking funny.
There's one other thing, actually, now that I think about it, that does kind of bug me, too. I like the terminal. I don't like it. The terminal system is fine, where, like, if I activate these terminals, it kind of opens up and says, like, stuff for the map. I just wish that they did something, versus anytime I do it, it just opens this menu of, like, do you want to turn blood on or off? Do you want to change your map? Like, I think that is you have a menu. Put that in your settings
it's even
menu.
worse
I find it
when you're playing on very easy because you don't have to do those because you automatically get the radar map for every room. So like,
sure.
I just go up to those and like, okay, so you just give me a menu in like certain rooms.
Yeah.
Like that's weird.
So
I wish
Alex,
they did something.
That
okay.
you don't have. So in the original version, you have something that's an original game versus the Master Collection bumping into each other there. So
Okay.
the Master Collection is the one that has that menu that allows you to do all those things. That is not in the base version of the game. And that menu option to be able to do those things, because this was obviously like a memory card game, like, you know, it wasn't like a
Right.
So those settings were only available in those outside of the main menu of the game. So this was where if somebody's still playing, can do all of those things. Otherwise, like if you press pause, it was just that blank pause screen. Like there was no like press the triggers to go to this menu. Like that's all Master Collection stuff.
That's fair. I
still
wish
don't-
they
don't
did
li-
something else.
I don't actually like the map things. Like anytime I walk into a new area and I don't see the radar, I'm like, oh my god, like it just kind of feels like busy work. And I feel like I am vindicated in that because that never comes back in any other game. But
Is that changed in the beginning when you make your selection for like game, like you choosing tank or the other one? They have like a radar selection as far as like which radar type do you want? Is that
radar? No, so that's the same. That radar type 1 and type 2 just changes what you're shown.
Okay.
Or how it is shown on the screen. But that menu thing is just there. It's a holdover from the original game because that was a place where players could change those settings in game without having to save. Sure. Close, like turn off your PlayStation 2, go back into your PlayStation 2, start the game up, go to the main menu, change what you wanted to change, and then go. I do think it was a quality of life feature for games, how games were made back then. But the overall mechanic of downloading a map for each area is annoying, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on that part.
cool. Okay, so then we make our way into the building, and we run into Olga, who is having a conversation with Solidus. So Raiden immediately brings out his directional microphone and starts listening in this, and Solidus goes, yo, Snake is here, and he's in Shell 1. And so Olga says that she's immediately going to head over there and finally get revenge on the man that killed her father. And Solidus protests and says, hey, no, you have to protect the president for the launch in an hour. And she goes, it's not that big of a deal because you just need to turn the electric floors on. And he's like, oh, that's true. I forgot about that. And she goes, no one will be able to get to him like this, and he can't destroy that with what he's got in there, so it'll be fine. And she goes, by the way, when all this is done, I want half my money up front so that I can go and return to Russia. She goes, but also any of my soldiers that want to stay behind, you need to make sure you take care of them. And he goes, hey, your soldiers are great, so that works for me. I have no issues with that.
Also, isn't it contradictory to say I want half my money up front, given that you're already in the act? Would it just be
I think
half
they're
my
saying
money
that
immediately?
when her part's done, because
yeah,
no, because so she's leaving before the job is done. So her contract ends after the president, like, because she's supposed to be the one that kills the president after the second part of the launch is done, and then she's just gonna leave after that, or after she kills Snake, obviously, because she wants to kill Snake for killing her dad, and then after that she will leave, or she'll get the second half of her money when her soldiers complete the rest of everything else that's going on.
gotcha. Yeah.
But she goes, that's why she says that, you know, any of them, like, she wants them to get good treatment. He says that's no problem. And then she warns him that if she betrays her, she will also end him. And he goes, that I feel the same way about you, so it's fine. We call Campbell to update him, and he says that we need to find the remote launcher, the Nikita launcher, so that we can recreate the Shadow Moses solution to this island. He even goes, like, do you remember the simulations, like the VR missions that you did for this? And Raiden's like, oh, fuck, yeah. If on Shadow Moses, I can do it the same way. And that is exactly what we do, except that obviously this one has far less turns that we have to do in this particular roundabout, or in this particular use of the Nikita launcher, as opposed to going through 8 rooms in front of 5 cameras and then into that thing.
It took me like 2 or 3 rockets to remember that you have to be moving for it not to go really fast forward.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these controls? I'm like, oh, that's right. You got to be moving for it to not boost. I'm like, that's right.
Yeah. Yes. And so that's what we do. So we go to the bottom floor and we get to the flooded level. We do a little swimming to go through the flooded area. Did you guys find the secret in here?
No, because the one thing you need is like right there in front of you. So it's like, hey, you got to go and help. I'm like, okay. And by that time in the game, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to be finishing off this game. So.
I've been really bad because I've watched some playthroughs and stuff afterwards. I've been really bad about finding some of the secrets in this.
So if you swim through this area and you're doing some exploring and just picking up random items, and to be fair, because obviously we know this at the end, but we have to head back to this area to go find the person that we're looking for. So you have a potential to get it here too, but as you go through this area towards the other exit of it, when you're picking up some of the items, you can open up some of the like turn doors, like there was in the tanker, and when you open one out, one Peter Stillman's body was in there, and obviously he's not doing so hot because he died from an explosion, and then everything else sort of just floats out because it's all submerged in water now. But Raiden is very taken aback, and you lose like a huge chunk of your breath because Raiden gasps when he sees it, which is kind of a nice touch.
Did you guys notice when you went underwater and you were getting the tutorial that the audio was different? It changed between... I couldn't tell if it was changing between 2 people or if it was just 2 very blatant, like, you were in the studio one day and you came back weeks later to do it again.
Is actually, so it's very funny. It's audio that is cut and like put together because there was issues with specifically this part, and so it had to be heavily edited to get the voice lines lined up.
Sometimes it's blatant. You're like, that just sounds like a different person. Like, say similar but different.
Yeah. So that's what happened there for that
Okay.
area. Yep, and it's specifically just in that like little zone there. But yeah, so we get the launcher. We go back up. We disable the door by flying it through one of the vents. Did you guys? So there's another little thing that can happen here. If you try one of the first vents that you see that's on like the lower part of the thing, and you shoot a bunch of rockets in there to keep trying, you'll notice that you keep coming out of a bottom vent in the room the president's being held in, and you're not high enough to be able to hit the thing. And if you keep doing it that way over and over again, you will get a text on the phone that Mr. X gave you and goes, "Hey, try the other room." And then you will go to the other room, and then you can stand on the box that conveniently has some Nikita ammo sitting right there. You use that, shoot it right out. That actually puts you at the right level. Obviously, when this happens, you get there, the president is like, "What the fuck is going on?" And he goes to like run and dive, and then you can do that. Any misses, by the way, if you hit the president at all once with that's it. He dies.
No, it's not. Not very easy.
Oh, well, sure. No, sorry.
I actually hit him once.
Okay, well, on any other moment, he dies.
I hit him.
Sure.
I hit him. And you have to redo it.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So we kill the electric floor, and then this is where we have the conversation with the president. So this opens up with Raiden asking if he's all right, and the president asks him if this is some sort of sick joke and that he's ready to die and pay the prices for his betrayal. And he gropes Raiden and then is shocked that he's a man. The reason for, and I just because
Well,
it's not abundant, it's not abundantly clear until maybe like a subsequent playthrough when you start thinking about or when this gets put together. But he's doing this because he believes that Olga is trying to get the drop on him, and in a male disguise, and so he's like, "Fuck you! I know exactly who you are. I can still see by your stupid white blonde hair and your blue eyes." And then he goes and is like, "Oh, you are definitely not her." And then that's when Raiden's like, "Yeah." And so Raiden goes, "What the fuck?" And then he's like, "I'm with Foxhound." And the president's like, "Okay, that makes a little bit more sense now." And then he's like, "Let's switch over to Nano communication." So they switch over to the codec so that nobody can listen in. And sort of Raiden then confirms that the president was working with Solidus all along up until about 2 hours ago when he found out Solidus's actual plan. The president then explains that he was actually hoping to use this whole situation to secure a spot on the Patriots, but Solidus just wanted to destroy them. And Raiden goes, "Okay, who the hell are these Patriots? Like, I keep hearing about this." And this is one of, and I mean, I think this is one of the more brilliant parts of this game and what Kojima describes as sort of a force that is ruling America, because boy, if he is not just describing an oligarchy, and man, does it really feel like today in 2025 we are certain.
What I was going to say is, like, when he goes to grab you, I'm like, oh, he predicted that we're going to have a president who likes to grab people by the pussy, huh? And think that's an okay thing? Okay,
you know what? That's probably not too far off
there.
Yeah, that's true. But this is, boy, if we don't really feel like the way that the president goes on to describe the Patriots for us here, it really is like you can immediately start drawing some parallels about today and misinformation and the way that people use that stuff. And
it's politics in general, yeah.
I know, but that's...
I thought it was interesting because, like, for me, never playing these games before, I know the names Solid Snake, Solidus Snake. I know all these things because it's just the zeitgeist of the world we live in, right? So I thought it was interesting not actually knowing who these people were when they started to do this lore dump here in a second and talk about, like, it being the president and other stuff. It kind of grounded these, like, super characters that Kojima brings in with, like, Vamp and all these other things, and this, like, Solidus Snake's the president. You're like, oh shit!
Yeah,
like that's
shit. I know.
Yeah,
that, like, okay,
that was
that makes
actually
sense
pretty cool.
Why Octagon was like talking to the president at the very end, like the sort of the credits scene in Metal Gear Solid 1. I'm like, okay, so this is that president he was talking to. Okay.
No. He was talking to Solidus back then, so he was talking to George Sears.
But he called him Mr. President.
Yeah, because back during the Shadow Moses incident, which they talk about here, George Sears or Solidus was the president.
Which is why
previous
he's now
president
king instead of Mr. President.
Yeah, it was his predecessor and stuff. I thought that was a legitimately, like, good little turn.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
So the president goes on to explain here that more or less like the Patriots are basically in control of everything from the economy to politics to all of the military, and he goes all of the decisions that happen in America, like from different tax things to military amendment, like or to constitutional amendments to military actions, like anything, all comes down to 12 men called the Wise Men's Committee that are inside the Patriots, and he then explains. Sort of like in a deeper way why his and Solidus's views sort of differed on the Patriots. The reason that this president felt like he wanted to join the Patriots is because he believes that ultimately, regardless of whether or not the American people or know or he believes that the Patriots are a good thing because if they disappear, there will be this giant political vacuum. That will form that could be taken up by the greediest, most insane people of all time. And he's like, in the right hands, this power can be very good, and we can sort of control things and just make sure that things need to move the way that they go. And Solidus's plan is saying, fuck that. Like, all y'all can die, and we will have a truly free place where it is truly like a, as far as they want to try to be like a perfect sort of democracy of people being able to decide their own future and have free will and different things like that. He also, Raiden then asked him, like, he goes, okay, who is Solidus? And the president goes on to explain that Solidus is the third brother of Liquid and Solid Snake, and so he's a perfect mix between them both. So if we remember from back in the first game when we were getting a breakdown of the Terrible Infants project, it was Solid Snake got a whole subset of, or got all of his dominant genes. Liquid got all of Big Boss's recessive genes, and now we find out that Solidus Snake is probably closer to an actual version of Big Boss than either one of them, where he's just sort of like a perfect mix of the two. The president goes on to this sort of explain that Solidus was actually in the position, like when he was the president, George Sears, that was the name that he was under. He had a falling out with the Patriots over how he handled the Shadow Moses incident, because all Metal Gear and the Genome Soldiers and all of this stuff that was supposed to be sort of hidden in the dark in the public got brought to light. And that was an issue for the Patriots, and so they removed him from the presidency and made this guy the new president, and were on their way to kill Solidus until Ocelot saved him, and then he's been on the run ever since. And then he met up with Dead Cell, and now here we are. He also says that Metal Gear Ray is actually not the Metal Gear that's being hidden here.
This was also gear. A great turn.
And he goes, this whole fucking thing that we're on is Arsenal gear, and it's housing Arsenal gear. And he says that like everything that Raiden has been told about the tanker incident 2 years ago was a lie. There was no environmental accident. There was no cleanup that needed to happen or anything like that. All of that was staged so that Arsenal gear could start being built here by the Patriots. And the reason that this is happening is because they need something to control the flow of information in the coming digital age. Again, masterful fucking prediction stuff here from Kojima, because back when this game came out, none of us knew how on the cusp we were to a digital age where the internet was going to overflow with information and nobody knew what was going to know, or nobody was going to be able to tell what's true and what's fake, especially with the dawn of AI and all this other stuff. And they even talk about how Emma is a neural AI scientist. That's her specialty. And God, in 2025, this game hits far too close to home, and especially with the shit we deal with today. But he mentions that Arsenal Gear has one of the main system called the GW system, And that is supposed to be the thing that controls the flow of information to the public and sort of decides what the truth is and is able to shape what the public believe the truth to be. And he tells us that we need to find Emma to stop the system from taking off. And he gives us a virus that is modeled after the Foxdie virus to stop the systems from actually activating and using Arsenal gear to be able to do all that stuff and complete the Patriots plan. And the president then starts to wrestle with us and says, hey, there's one last thing that we have to do, and it's that you have to kill me. And Raiden is not at all in a position that he feels like that's the right thing that should be done, because to be fair, his whole worldview has been shattered just recently, and he is not in a position to, he's like, give me, like, get off me, give me a second, blah, blah. And in this moment, Ocelot comes in and shoots him. And Ocelot calls us Carrier Boy, which is something that we've been called by him before as players. And then he pieces out, he leaves. And we get a call with Campbell, and he basically lets us know that he believes everything that the president said, and he has no way to verify any of this, but he said that there's also no reason that the president would lie about this, because he's not in a position to lie. There would be no reason for him to lie about this, so we should just go forward and honor his last directive and try and find Emma. And that is where we end on this playthrough. So before I get into our final thoughts, I'm just going to say, just for everybody who knows, this next part is us finishing the game. So there won't be anything that you have to worry about. We are just going to finish it and talk about it next week. But yeah, so I know we kind of interjected a little bit over there just because some of those plot points are kind of crazy. But how did we all feel with how this story is sort of ramping up at the sort of back half of this game now?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I just there's a lot of lore dumping and very little gameplay in this one, so it's like I kind of wish we got a little bit more of that, like sprinkled out throughout the game a little bit more. We still get some of that info as we go, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and it's a lot of twists and turns and espionage stuff, and like this guy's that guy, this guy's that guy. We have this like shadow council of people who control the world kind of thing. It's a lot to take in all at once, but it's very, very good. It's very well done. There is a little bit, some things I forgot to mention last time. When you were going to get the sound detector, did you guys check to see what those dudes were looking at on the computer?
No.
Yeah, they're looking at porn. Yeah.
Yeah. And for a little bit, they look at it something normal, and all of a sudden, it's not grotesque porn like
No, but it's like swimsuit models.
Yeah, it's just like a pretty girl face pops up there, and you can kind
Yeah.
of see him. And I think at one point, even like I was looking at it, and the guy's like, "Oh hey, hi, what's going on?" And they immediately like just turn it off. So I thought that was pretty funny. I loved how the the sound detector, whatever that was called, how the subtitles got bigger and larger based off of like
How close you were
how
to
close you were to them. So like,
microphone in the right
so when
spot.
Olga's
Yeah.
talking, she's walking back and forth, and you can see the subtitle get a little smaller if she's going away from your aiming. So you got to find her again, so it gets a little bit bigger, so you can kind of get to it. I'm like, that was actually a really cool touch as far as like enlarging and making the subtitle smaller just based on that. So, but yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I felt like I wasn't nearly as lost in this one as I was in like the first or second part. But yeah, I'm enjoying this a lot for sure.
Yeah, I will say to the detail, I didn't even notice the detail of it getting larger and smaller, but I see that detail of shit that doesn't matter, even in playing Death Stranding. Like, that just, there's little shit that happens
Just
where you're like,
Pieces of love they put in.
you're like, that's cool. Like, if you notice it, you're like, wow, I don't know
Did
why
not
it wasn't
have to do
necessary,
that
but
at all.
cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I really liked the second half of this playthrough, but like this part 3, I thought was good. I liked the lore. I love espionage shit like this, just goofy stuff. So I'm digging it. I did have the same thought. There's a lot going on because when you break things out into their separate pieces, you have these individual characters that make up this terrorist group, and all of these characters are characters within themselves, like Olga and Vamp, and we know Ocelot and all this. So like, there's that, and then you have Solid Snake, who's back but acting like he's not back, but he's definitely back, and then you have us as a new character experiencing this world, but then you have the Patriots introduced. There is a lot actually going on.
You still
in
got
here.
Fortune. You got a lot to wrap up with in this last part.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, there's gonna be a whole lot happening
Yeah.
in this last part.
There's a lot, but I am excited to see what happens to the end of this. And it actually has me kind of excited to see what happens moving forward in the other games, because the leap in quality of life and the leap in, I think, this subversive storytelling between 1 and 2 is pretty vast. So I'm interested to see what happens moving from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. But yeah, so far I'm excited to see my excitement in 1 built as well, right? It got better and better as we went. This one started out on a higher note, but it's moving toward, I think, a better note as well. So I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I just realized as I was in my notes was, during that scene in the hostage area, right before Ocelot comes back in the room, he has another episode where Liquid tries to take over, and Ocelot injects himself with something, and he's like,
see that,
Yeah.
and he goes, he's like,
getting
these
worse.
fits are getting closer and closer, and he goes, it probably has to do with the fact that Snake is here. So there's that piece too that happened that I forgot to mention. But otherwise, yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think it's funny how my opinion on this game has changed over time, because I think how spot on some of his writing is about certain like things only really hit in
Now.
what I would say like today's age, versus when I played it back then when I was a kid, I was like, this is wild. Like, this sounds crazy. But it was not something that was like really on the radar at the time. But once we hit, the big internet boom, let's say, it became a lot more poignant.
I saw a video today of a tool called Killing AI, and it took a flat image of a woman. It was a photo, right? So
Yeah.
a 2D image of a photo, and it took that and made her dance, and it turned her into a 3D model dancing, but it wasn't like a cartoony. It was a woman, right? It was a real photo. And that's the world we live in, where AI can take a 2D image and turn it into a 3D model and render it doing stuff. And I just looked at that and I was like, if you didn't tell me that was AI, I would just think it's a woman dancing. So then you think further, if you're my parents or grandparents or whoever, or just even people that we know that aren't as up into this, right? And you're just scrolling through Instagram, all of this is enough to fool you. I'm not going to stop and look and think, is that AI? It's just a person dancing. And it's crazy, this world we live in when it comes to information or possibly misinformation, because of how easily you can be fooled, because it just, the way technology is advanced, how real it looks, and
so,
the capabilities are nuts.
What I really want to say before we finish this game is just, I think someone needs to take the pen away from Kojima.
Sure.
This, COVID, the war economy, all this stuff that he keeps being in front of, either by a couple years or whatever, I've had enough.
Maybe he's one of the Council of the 12, and his purpose is to write this stuff, because people will be like, it's not. Yeah, people will be like, oh, they'll never believe it's actually happening in the background if we're just upfront about it and we say what's going on. That's
He's
his
just trying to
medium.
warn us. Who knows?
No, I don't. Maybe he's just trying to write stuff that's so fantastical it can never be real.
And then
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, this next part, we are going to finish the game. So that'll be it. And then we will be on to our next gaming book club.
Yeah. That is Preston up next. Me?
No, it's you. It's you
Oh.
every time.
It always, as soon as I
2+ years. Every time
Can I
you.
just say, I'm so glad that Preston knew what I was doing, because right there I was kind of not on. I was
Seeing
on
what he would
purpose
do.
not saying who it was next, just to see what would happen. And I could see Preston. He was like, I also won't be saying anything. And
Let's see what he says.
Alex goes, yeah, and it's Preston's turn, huh? And I was like,
Nope. It sure isn't.
I'm gonna
walked
call.
into that one again.
Who's our HR? I'm calling HR
That's
for
me.
bullying.
I'm your HR.
I'm
Yeah,
calling.
yeah.
I'm calling HR for bullying.
And he'll show you exactly where those complaints go.
Yeah. trash
Yeah,
can right
well,
next to
so I do want to make one correction. It's something we'll discuss offline here. Do not be surprised if you do not, if we take a week between
Sure.
these. We may have a side quest because I will be out of town, so
Yeah,
we'll do what we
fine.
can. So
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah.
If for some reason something is a week delayed, don't be shocked. We'll try and knock
Next
this out
week,
so we are.
We will probably end up doing a side quest because someone will be out
Yeah.
in Disneyland.
Yeah.
But yeah, so consider us
So we'll do what we
taking
can.
a week off of the Video Game Book Club next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But all right, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully you're playing along, or at least you're enjoying the story as it goes. We have one more part where we finish it up, and boy, I can't wait to tell you what game we're playing next.
I sure, yeah. You just got you're
soon
boiling,
as
man. You're like, man, I
I'm
cannot wait to
as
say it.
soon
I
as
just
I
can't
have a
wait to
nice-
say what it is.
He's like, I have a nice long drive all the way to Disneyland to figure out what our next game
Got a
is.
whole
gonna be.
week to figure it out now. Lucky me, right?
So with that, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. And as always, Preston, you know what to do.
Hit it. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or to check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. If watching is more your thing, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@thetestingroom, or watch us live on twitch.tv/testingroomlive. To leave comments or ask questions, you can follow us on Instagram @testingroompod, leave a comment on YouTube, or send them in to testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.